Hi, my name is Carla and I'm from Canada. My life was pretty normal until one day while walking to school, the most bizarre thing happened.
Carla, watch out!
My neighbor and classmate Danny yelled as his bike sped towards me. I jumped out of the way and landed in a ditch while Danny and his bike went flying through some bushes.
Ouch! I think I broke my leg.
Serves you right for almost killing me. I was so busy trying to get out of the ditch and cursing Danny that I didn't notice someone walk up to me.
Hi, Carla. Need some help?
I looked up at the unfamiliar voice. The most beautiful girl I'd ever seen was standing there, her hand extended to me. I'm not exaggerating, guys. She was stunning. She had these ocean blue, sparkling eyes and jet black silky hair. And her teeth were so white they hardly looked real. Who are you and why do you know my name?
I'm Olivia. Let me help you.
Do you want to know what happened next? Then please subscribe and keep watching this video. When I was 8 years old, my dad gave me a beautiful doll and told me her name was Alexa. I loved Alexa, but mom kept saying that Alexa didn't look right. Being only 8, I didn't know what that meant. One day, I came home from school to find mom throwing dad's things on the lawn, threatening to burn them. Our neighbors were standing outside watching the drama unfold.
I'm warning you, Marcus, I will set it all on fire if you don't get that thing away from Carla.
Stop making a scene, Lydia. The doll is harmless and Carla loves her.
Were they talking about Alexa? Mom? Dad? What's going on? They both turned towards me. I guess they were too busy trying to kill each other to notice the school bus drop me off. Dad was holding Alexa protectively while Mom was throwing loads of Dad's stuff all over the lawn. Danny, who was the school head of the bullies, stood on the sidewalk, his bully friends with him.
Oh, Carla, your parents are crazy. Is your house a madhouse?
His bully friends laughed as they took off down the street on their bikes.
Carla, honey, please go inside.
I followed Mom to her front door and she asked me to go to my room and wait for her. When she came in later, Dad and his stuff were gone, and so was Alexa. That was almost 10 years ago. Now I'm a senior in high school. Scratch that. I'm the hottest senior in high school. At least according to every boy at my school. Well, except Danny. He's still a bully and he still calls my house the madhouse. Ugh. After Olivia helped me get out of the ditch, she vanished. One minute, I was talking to her while collecting my books, and when I looked up, she was gone. I hurried to the school wondering who she was, and how did she know who I was? It was kind of creepy. While in class, I heard some movement outside the window and I turned to look. You wouldn't believe what I saw. Olivia was staring at me with her face plastered to the window, her eyes unnaturally wide. I stood up from my desk screaming and she took off running. When my classmates turned to see what was going on, she was already gone. I swear there was someone right there.
Are you seeing things, Carla?
Danny and his buddies were now making fun of me, saying I was losing it. I'm not crazy, there was a girl there. My outburst made them laugh even more. When I got home that day and told Mom about my strange day, she just brushed it off. No one believed me, but I was sure of what I saw. Olivia was real. Guys, you believe me, right? A few days later, I got home from school to find a police officer outside our house. And with him was my dad. I ran and hugged him, but he started to sob loudly. Dad, what's wrong? Aren't you happy to see me?
Carla, I'm so sorry. Your mom was in a car accident. She's gone, honey.
I fell to my knees as Dad and the officers gave me the worst news of my life. I had so many questions, but I just let Dad comfort me. The next couple of days were tough, but Dad helped me with the funeral arrangements, and after the funeral, I had no choice but to move in with him. So, where have you been this whole time? Dad was driving me to his house.
Carla, I'm so sorry I left. I've been working at a lab in Germany, but I came back a few weeks ago.
I got the shock of my life when I walked into Dad's fancy house because standing there was Olivia. I knew I wasn't crazy. What are you doing here? Did you follow me here too?
What are you talking about?
This girl has been following me. She even came to my school. She's a creep.
Calm down, Carla. Olivia didn't follow you here. She lives here.
I was lost.
Carla, meet your stepsister, Olivia.
This was crazy. She has been stalking me for the past couple of weeks.
That's impossible. Olivia is homeschooled and she never leaves the house.
Oh, is that right? Do her lessons involve teaching her how to be a stalker?
Now calm down, young lady. That's no way to talk to me or your sister.
She's not my sister. She's just a...
That's enough, Carla.
Dad was angry now and he was about to scold me, but Olivia interrupted.
It's okay, Dad. She's telling the truth.
See?
I only wanted to get to know her and may have shown up at the school a couple of times.
Shown up? You scared me and made my classmates think I'm a psycho.
I'm really sorry, Dad, but when we moved back here, I thought we would look for Carla right away, but you and Mom didn't seem to be in a hurry. I just wanted to get to know Carla better.
I can't believe you did that. What if someone found out that...
Dad stopped talking and looked at me nervously. Found out what?
That I'm...
Olivia, don't.
She looked at Dad wide eyes and then she started to shake violently like she was having a seizure. What's wrong with her? Dad didn't answer me. Instead, he picked up Olivia and carried her up the stairs. I followed and saw him enter a room, but when I tried to walk in, he banged the door in my face. Rude? What do you think Olivia was about to tell me?
Hey, Carla, I hope you remembered to take your crazy meds. We don't want you screaming at ghosts again.
The whole class burst out laughing at Danny's teasing.
Apologize to her, now!
Olivia stood over Danny, her fists clenched. Where had she come from? Ever since her mini meltdown at home, Dad had been treating her like she was an egg. He fussed over her and rarely let her out of his sight. Olivia? What are you doing here?
Dad finally let me join your school. Isn't it great?
She smiled at me and then turned to Danny.
I said, apologize to my sister. Now!
She took a step towards him. How could she be smiling 1 second and so mad the next?
Sister, you're crazy just like her.
Olivia pounced on Danny like an angry cat. She punched him in the face and Danny fell backwards, clutching his nose.
Ouch, you broke my nose.
And I'll break it again if you ever come near my sister. Now move.
She pushed Danny off his chair and sat in it. By lunch, the whole school was talking about Olivia. Everyone moved out of the way as she and I walked past them. Olivia never left my side. She even stood outside the door when I went to the bathroom. Everyone was mesmerized by Olivia's beauty. The boys drooled at her and my friends kept talking about how pretty she was. I even saw them touch and sniff her silky hair. Soon, my friends started to pay more attention to her and to her perfect everything. As if that was not enough, Olivia was super intelligent. She had a photographic memory and she solved math problems in seconds. Teachers adored her. By the end of the first week, everyone was worshipping the ground she walked on. Despite all her popularity, Olivia never made any friends. All she did was follow me everywhere I went. On my birthday, I invited my friends to my dad's house, even though I knew not many people would show up, since I wasn't that popular anymore. Much to my surprise, almost the entire school showed up to the party. I was so excited, until I saw them all handing presents to Olivia and wishing her a happy birthday. I couldn't believe it. She hijacked my birthday. You're the worst sister in the world. I furiously wiped tears from my face and ran to my bedroom, only to walk in the worst possible scene a girl could see on her birthday. My boyfriend Emmett was kissing Gigi, a girl in our class, in my bedroom. Get out! Get out! I pulled my hair and stomped my feet like a mad toddler.
Carla, what's going on?
Ugh, Of course, Olivia had followed me. I caught them kissing.
What?
Gigi tried to leave the room, but Olivia blocked her. Get out of my way. Gigi pushed Olivia and it was chaos from there. Olivia looked possessed. She and Gigi were at each other's necks, but Gigi was no match for Olivia. Seriously, what had Dad been feeding her? Come to think of it, I'd never seen her eat. Not even once. Anyway, back to my bedroom, which now looked like a war zone. Olivia and Gigi were screaming at each other, rolling on the floor. Emmett and I tried to separate them, but I ended up with a scratch on my face and Emmett got a chipped tooth. Gigi grabbed Olivia by her hair and pulled hard. Emmett and I watched in horror as Olivia's hair came right off. It was a wig. Olivia quickly got up away from Gigi. She tried to cover her bald head, but it was too late. And that was not all. One of her eyes was bulging out, distorted and looking really creepy. Oh my God, what's wrong with your face? Gigi dropped Olivia's wig and bolted out of there. Emmett looked so terrified and, to be honest, so was I. When Olivia turned to him, he took a few steps back.
Don't come near me.
Olivia didn't listen. She grabbed him and pushed him hard. Together, they fell through my bedroom window and landed on our lawn. I ran down the stairs and went out the front door. I saw Emmett get up and limp down the driveway, disappearing down the street. Kids stared in horror at Olivia, who, at this point, looked like a zombie. Olivia, are you okay?
Alexa?
She started twitching and shaking, then she fell with a loud thud. Everyone ran away screaming. A few minutes later, Dad walked out to the lawn and ran straight to Olivia. Is she dead?
No,
We need to take her to the hospital.
she doesn't need a hospital.
He picked her up and went into the house where he ordered everyone to leave. I didn't understand what was happening until the most shocking thing happened. Dad took Olivia to her room, laid her on the bed, lifted her shirt, and plugged an electric charger in her. The words "system charging" sent my brain on a whirlwind. What? What's going on? I was terrified and ready to bolt when Dad caught my hand and begged me to sit down so he could explain.
Carla, Olivia is your childhood doll, Alexa.
No way. But how is that possible?
She's not a normal doll, she's a robot.
Dad explained that he created Alexa when I was young, but when Mom found out how similar to a human being the doll was, she freaked out and kicked Dad out, calling him crazy. In Germany, Dad met Margaret, a scientist just like him. She helped him develop Alexa to look even more human. One day, however, Olivia found photos of me and told Dad that she wanted to meet me. And reluctantly, Dad agreed to move back to Canada.
I called your mom immediately when we moved back, but she refused to let me see you.
As Dad continued to explain, Olivia woke up all charged and Dad fixed her hair and put her eye back in place. She looked at me and smiled.
I'm sorry, Carla. I just wanted to be close to you.
I felt strange about this whole thing. So what happens now?
Now we move back to Germany where Olivia's secret is safe. And no more school for you, Olivia.
That's okay, Dad. I don't need school anyway.
So, Carla, will you come with us?
What do you think I said?
Sometimes I wonder if convincing my mom to leave my dad was a bad idea. I know it wasn't, but I just can't help but wonder sometimes, you know? When Dad was around, we were like one big happy family. Everything was stable. At that point, of course, we hadn't figured out that he had different families all over the world. Families that he was using Mom's wealth to take care of. But everything changed when we found out. Someone secretly left a package for Mom. She took it to her office, but didn't act like she discovered anything after coming out. All she said was,
Oh, that, just some work documents.
We believed her and never asked again until I mischievously entered her home office one night, 6 months later, for no particular reason than to snoop, as I always did. I found the package filled with pictures of my father with his different families and documents proving that those were actually his families. I felt like someone had just stabbed me from behind. I heard the door opening, but I was too stunned to hide. My mom walked in.
Ethan, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be in here.
Her voice brought me out of my shocked state. "What is this, Mom? What is this?" My mom broke down and started weeping. She told me that someone had delivered the pictures to her, but she was too in love with my father to believe it, so she decided to hire a private investigator to follow him around. He brought her more pictures and documents proving that it was really true. You think my dad is the evil villain in this story? Watch this video till the end so you can see the definition of a real villain. I was so angry with my dad and mom at that point. If you know all this, why are you still living with that man? In less than a month, my parents had separated. The divorce process took a long time to get rounded up, and my dad managed to get settled with a huge chunk of my mother's wealth before leaving. That man was a terrible gold digger, and I stopped referring to him as my father. For all intents and purposes, I had no father. The problem now was that the kind of men my mother had been dating since she became a single woman once again were nothing to write home about. My dad might have even been better than every last one of them. These men were with my mom mostly because they needed a certain amount of money for something. Once they got it, they immediately disappeared into thin air, surfacing only if they needed money for something else again. My mother didn't care though. She accepted them for what they were, gold diggers. When I confronted her concerning her bad decisions, she argued that she only attracted these types of men because she was a loser, and secretly, I agreed with her sometimes. I was young, so I couldn't do much concerning her situation. I watched her get played, stolen from, and heartbroken over and over again, only for her to bounce back feeling better and get played, stolen from, and heartbroken again. It was an endless cycle. When I was about to graduate from high school, she started dating a new man who seemed more stable. He was different from the other men she had previously been with who were simply jumping from relationship to relationship. He made her feel better and took good care of her, so she loved him unconditionally. This was the total opposite of what I felt about this man though. His name was Mr. Frostkin, and he gave me serious creeps. I didn't like him one bit. I told my mother how I felt about him, and she just laughed, saying that I was simply paranoid because of our experience with my father. One day, my mother and her boyfriend called me into her home office and informed me that I'd be completing my high school education in a boarding school abroad. I couldn't understand it. Why would she want to be alone with this creepy man? I objected and fought against the decision, but that didn't change anything. And the next week after their revelation, I found myself on a plane heading to my new school. My final school year passed and I graduated successfully. Unfortunately, no one came to witness this, so once the celebrations were over, I got on a plane to get me back home. On arrival, I found out that my mom was severely sick. "Mom, oh my God, what's wrong?" I said as I sprinted to her bed.
Oh, Ethan, you have no idea how good it is to see you. I'm sorry I missed your graduation. The doctors told me I wouldn't recover from my sickness if I made the trip. I didn't listen to them though, trust me.
I laughed as she continued her story. "What did you do?"
I booked my private jet and I got my driver to pick me up in the middle of the night when everyone was sleeping. Unfortunately, Frostkin is a light sleeper, so he caught me before I could go too far. He stopped me and said he wasn't going to let me kill myself.
We both laughed. It was good to see her and hear her crack her jokes once again. I was spending time with her physically this time and not through a gadget. After hearing about her unsuccessful stunt, I didn't know if I should be grateful to Frostkin from saving her from herself or angry with him for stopping her from attending my graduation. I was conflicted. One day, he took me out so we could bond. I wasn't interested at first because I didn't like him one bit, but my mom successfully convinced me to go with him. We played golf at first, then went bowling after we got bored and realized golf wasn't our thing. While playing, we talked about my mom.
"You know, Ethan, your mom is the best thing that's ever happened to me."
"You mean my mom's money is the best thing that has ever happened to you?" I thought.
"She has shown me what true love is, and I will never hurt her. I will always be by her side no matter what. I will take care of her until she gets better."
"But you don't have to deal with that alone. I'll be here with you guys."
"Huh?"
He looked shocked, making the bowling ball slip from his hand and move into the wrong direction.
"Why would you want to do that to yourself? You're young. You should explore the world and have mad fun. It's either now or never."
What in the world are you talking about? My mother is critically ill, and you're talking about exploring the world and having fun? I don't even get you.
"I'm sorry about that suggestion."
He apologized, and we played the rest of the game in silence. A few months passed, and I enjoyed every second that I spent with my mom. I also got admission to a nearby university, so I could be going from home while making sure my mom was all right. One day, my mother and her boyfriend called me to her home office once again, and I knew that something was going to go wrong. It felt like deja vu. My mom told me how she didn't want to mess up my future by making me go to a random university just because I wanted to take care of her.
Luckily, my darling Frostkin, who cares about you so much, has gotten you admitted into Cambridge University. This is where you'll be studying, and that's final,
she said while coughing. I tried reasoning with her, but it seemed like she listened to me only when it had nothing to do with that devil Frostbite. I started schooling in Cambridge and came across my mom's wedding photos some months later. I was surprised that she still went ahead to marry that weirdo despite my warnings, and I wasn't even told about or invited to it. Her face in the pictures made me shed tears. She looked so sick, like she'd been forced into it. I called her and asked her about it, but she defended herself, saying that she was an adult and had the power to make her own decisions without my permission. She didn't feel remorseful at all and was much worse because she kept coughing after every sentence and had to end the call quickly. I kept calling after that day, but I was informed that my mother was bedridden and couldn't talk on the phone anymore. I requested for video calls instead, and Frostkin agreed, but all my mother could ever do was wave and smile. I told her I was coming home, but she made me promise that I would finish my exams first. After my last paper, the bad news was broken to me. My mother had passed away. I immediately ran to the airport, but once I got there, I was informed that I had been banned from entering the States for suspicion of illegal activities. What illegal activities? I cried at the airport. My mother's burial went on without me, and I missed everything. Over the years, I kept trying to fix the problem, put my documents in order and travel, but I was never successful. I even ended up beating up an airport official out of frustration one day and subsequently got arrested, but I was immediately released once the cops found out who I was. After graduation, I tried applying to law school, but my banks told me that all my bank accounts had been cleared. I was broke. Luckily, I was able to land a job at a big tech firm thanks to my good grades, and I used my salary from my part-time work to fund my studies. I graduated from law school with flying colors, and my colleagues fought tooth and nail to get me clear and make it possible for me to travel anywhere in the world whenever I wanted. I finally arrived home, but I wasn't allowed to enter it by the new security guards. I got angry and confronted my mother's lawyer, and he explained to me that my mother had left everything she ever owned to her husband before she died. I burst into tears because I knew that my mom would never do that intentionally. And I was sad because I'd been unable to protect my mother from this foul play and that evil man. As I searched around for a hotel to lodge in for the night, I felt something heavy hit my head from behind and I passed out. When I regained consciousness, I opened my eyes and saw my mother, but I quickly closed them because it meant I was still dreaming since I dreamt of my mother every night. I opened them again and there she still was, looking down at me and smiling. Mom?
Ethan, you're awake. I'm so glad. Agent Josh hit you so hard that I thought you were going to get a brain injury. I told him to just gas you and knock you out instead, but he didn't listen. Honestly, I think he just panicked, seeing how muscular and heavy-built you've become. He didn't expect that. You look good, my boy. Different. Older, but good.
I didn't chicken out, woman. I just wanted to avoid a fight. A fight would draw attention and expose us.
They smiled at each other. How is this possible? You're alive. I tried sitting up, but my head still hurt.
I'm so sorry for hitting you.
I ignored the agent. My mom took a deep sigh and started explaining. Turns out that my mother found out that she was being drugged, so she'd die slowly but surely, and was also being made compliant to Frostkin's suggestions as a result of the drugs. This made her do whatever he said. Armed with this realization, she tried reporting to the police, but was immediately caught and shot by her husband. He hid her bleeding body in a basement where she heard the voices of her lawyer, doctor, and husband discussing outside. They were all wondering what they'd do next, since she'd found out early and their whole plan was ruined. Luckily, Agent Josh had been secretly investigating Mr. Frostkin for years. On that particular night, he had snuck into the house and was hiding in the basement when my mother was thrown in. He quickly called for backup and they switched the body with a fake dead replica and poured blood all over, even shooting the clone in the exact spot before bringing her to the basement. They rescued my mother, treated her, and put her in witness protection. She'd been helping them build up a case against Frostkin that would keep him in prison for life since he'd killed so many people. Frostkin was a notorious criminal known for changing names and identities, then marrying and killing rich women and their families before taking all their wealth and eloping. I was happy and grateful that my mother was alive, so I decided to help. I started leaving personal items for my mother around their house, making Frostkin feel like he was being haunted. He started becoming sloppy and leaving clues carelessly, so we were finally able to build a huge case against him and keep him in prison for life. During the trial, we discovered that Froskin was my real dad's friend. He sent the pictures to my mother because he wanted to destroy the marriage. Then, he started sending useless men to date my mother, making us feel like she was a loser so she'd love and appreciate him when he finally came. Everything was carefully planned out. My mother recovered her wealth, and we got the doctor, lawyer, and nurses and everyone else who was involved in the attempted murder arrested. Agent Josh and my mother started seeing each other, and he was a sweet man and loved me just like he loved my mother. He treated me even better than my real dad had ever treated me. So imagine my joy when he asked my mother to marry him and she accepted. I was so happy to have a father who actually cared about both me and mother, and not the money. We later sold our new house and moved in with Agent Josh and his little daughter, who looked up to me because she also wanted to become a lawyer. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the story. It really helps our channel. Thank you.